The brutal truth about love and why you're probably mistaking fear for it. They told you it was love. But what if it was just fear, dressed up in sweet nothings and desperate glances? What if the butterflies in your stomach were actually red flags you ignored because no one ever taught you the difference between love and emotional addiction? I know this might sting, but it's time someone said it out loud. Most of what we call love is just fear of being alone. The fear of not being enough. The fear that if no one's watching, no one will care. The fear that without someone there to validate your existence, you'll simply fade. So let's talk about it raw, unfiltered, and without the fairy tales. Because until we call this illusion what it really is, we'll keep chasing connection while slowly losing ourselves in the process. How much of what we call love is really just fear? The fear of being alone in a world that pressures us to be coupled up. The fear of not being good enough, worthy enough, lovable enough on our own. The deep-seated fear that without someone mirroring back our value, we'll somehow just disappear. Be brutally honest with yourself for a second. Imagine that person vanished tomorrow, gone, no contact. Would you still feel whole, or would you crumble like a house built on borrowed strength, collapsing under its own weight? That knot in your stomach, that frantic check of their last seen at 2 a.m., that tremor in your hands when you see they haven't replied to your text. That isn't love, my friend. That's anxiety wearing a cleverly disguised love costume. It's emotional dependency. It's attachment pretending to be a soul connection. And here's the real tragedy. We've been programmed our entire lives to believe that this aching need is what love feels like. No one ever taught us how to love freely without needing. How to love from a place of completeness, not lack. Carl Jung, a brilliant mind, said it perfectly. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But are you being transformed or erased? Are you bending yourself into a pretzel? Shrinking, hiding parts of yourself, your true self, because you're terrified they'll leave if you're too much? Are you betraying your own soul just for a fleeting taste of someone else's fleeting presence? Why? Because you've been led to believe that without them, you are nothing. But here's the truth, and it's gonna sting. This isn't love. It's addiction. You're not in love, you're hooked. You're dependent on their energy, the way someone clings to a drug. Not because it heals you, but because it numbs a wound you're too terrified to face alone. Attachment is the illusion that you need someone to survive. It's that voice inside whispering, "Without them, I'll die." But you don't die. You wake up. You rebuild. You become something deeper, something truer, something more you. Because when you face absence with courage, it becomes your greatest teacher, a sacred turning point in your spiritual growth. Love and attachment. They're not the same. Attachment is rooted in fear. Love is freedom. Attachment binds. Love liberates. And until you truly see that you'll keep mistaking cages for comfort. You'll think love means possession, control, certainty, permanence. But real love doesn't need locks. It doesn't demand lifelong contracts signed in blood. It doesn't ask you to shrink so someone else can feel big. Jung understood this deeply. He knew that we project our own emptiness onto others, hoping they'll magically fix what we haven't dared to face within ourselves. That's why attachment is so damn seductive. because we're all walking around with old wounds, desperately trying to stitch them closed with someone else's skin instead of doing the shadow work that would finally help them heal. We become emotional vampires, unconsciously draining the very people we claim to love, just to avoid looking at our own pain. But one day you hit rock bottom. You crash. And in that moment, when you finally admit that this love is drowning you, that's when something shifts. That's when detachment begins, not as coldness, not as giving up, but as an act of radical self-love. Detaching doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop clinging. It means you let go of the fear of loss, the fear that you aren't enough. It means you realize this profound truth. True love doesn't demand your soul in exchange for a fleeting connection. True love doesn't shrink you. It expands you. It helps you rise. It whispers, "Be more of who you are, not less." Detachment is an inner revolution. It's looking fear square in the face and saying, "You don't get to run the show anymore." It's staring into the void and not flinching. It's knowing deep down that you are already complete, even if you've forgotten, even if it still feels like a lie some days. Yes, letting go hurts. It can feel like peeling off your own skin. Because you've lived so long believing they were your oxygen, you forgot how to breathe alone. But this is where shadow work begins, in the quiet pain of standing alone, facing the truths you once buried. But you can. And when you do, when you finally free yourself, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because you see it differently. From wholeness, not lack. Detaching doesn't mean closing your heart. It means opening it without fear. It means saying, "I love you, but I don't need you to be happy." And that, though it may sound contradictory, is the greatest act of love you'll ever offer. True love carries no pressure, no manipulation, no silent expectations. It simply flows because it is whole. Jung spoke of the sacred path of individuation, a journey of returning to yourself, a pilgrimage inward paved with shadow work, where you face your own reflection, reclaim your missing pieces, and become, finally, fully you. From that place, you can love without clinging. You can give without losing yourself. You can be with someone without needing them to fill a hole they did not create. Because you're no longer running on empty. You're no longer broken. You are no longer searching for someone to complete you. Instead, you're choosing, consciously, to share your fullness, but of that path. It's not easy. Because attachment feels safe, even though it burns. It's familiar. It's a well-worn prison. And for many that feels less terrifying than freedom. Because detachment that throws you into the abyss. It strips away the distractions. It leaves you alone, face to face with your own shadows. And that's where most people stop. Because they would rather stay in their cage than face the vertigo of standing in their own power. But what waits beyond the abyss peace? The kind of peace that doesn't tremble when someone walks away. The kind of stability that doesn't collapse with silence. A love that rises from within you and shines outward, not the other way around. That's when it hits you. Letting go was never about losing them. It was about finding you, reclaiming, rebuilding, reconnecting with the power you handed away, because you forgot that you were already whole. Real love doesn't hurt. It doesn't torment. It doesn't manipulate. It never asks you to abandon yourself to keep it alive. If it crushes you, if it shrinks you, if it steals your peace, that's not love. That's attachment, dressed up in pretty words. And no matter how beautiful the disguise, it's still a prison. True love isn't born from fantasy. It rises from the ashes of shadow work and the soil of spiritual growth, the places most people run from, but where freedom actually begins. You want to love for real. Learn to be alone. Learn to befriend your solitude. Get intimate with the darkest corners of your soul. Hold yourself when everything else falls apart. And stop depending on the reflection in someone else's eyes to feel like you exist. Only then can you look someone in the eyes and say, I choose you, but I don't need you. And that, my friend, is a brutal kind of beauty. Because most people don't love, they cling. They grasp at someone else so they don't have to face the void inside. They mistake chaos for passion, suffering for depth, possession for connection. But there's another way. More difficult, yes, but infinitely more real. The path of conscious detachment, the path of emotional freedom, the path of spiritual growth, where love becomes a gift, not a survival strategy. So ask yourself, why does letting go hurt so much? What part of you believes it will die if they walk away? What emptiness are you trying to stuff with someone else's presence? Right there, in those questions, lies the root of your attachment. And it's time to pull it up. Not with anger, but with compassion, with love, with patience. Because this isn't about blaming them. It's about loving yourself enough to no longer need anyone to validate your existence, a powerful milestone in your spiritual growth. And yes, it hurts, but it's the most sacred kind of pain. The pain of healing. Because love is not possession, it's presence, it's freedom. It's dancing side by side, not chaining each other in fear. If you have to hold on with force, if you have to beg, if you have to lose yourself just to be loved, that's not love, that's fear. And fear doesn't build, it devours. So let go. Let go with grace. Let go with love. Let go knowing this letting go is not loss, it's choosing yourself. And when you choose yourself, when you come home to your own soul, when you stop begging for scraps of attention and start nourishing your own heart, everything changes. You no longer chase. You no longer settle. You no longer shrink. Because now, you have yourself. And that is the most powerful love there is. Detachment is not cold. It's clarity. It's maturity. It's knowing that everything that comes into your life can also leave, and yet you'll still be whole. It's understanding that real safety was never in them. It's always been in you. And from that sacred place, you can love without fear. You can give without needing. You can stay open without losing your center. Because now, you are no longer trying to complete yourself through love. You are sharing your completeness through love. That's the truth. Raw, hard, but liberating. Because until you stop calling your pain love, you will keep suffering. You will keep repeating the same story in different bodies, and it will keep breaking you. It's time to wake up, to look attachment in the eye and say, you no longer own me. That's the moment shadow work begins, not in rage, but in radical self-awareness. It's time to walk towards something real, a love that doesn't chain, that doesn't demand, that doesn't consume, a love that sets you free. And that love begins with you.